Welcome to the return of the NFL Divisional Preview Show. So I gotta say, everyone's favorite time of the year is previewing all the divisions. We're gonna start locally here, as I'm in South Florida. He is the midday host for 560 WQAM in Miami, with former Browns and Vikings running back legend Leroy Horde. I'd like to welcome back to the show, longtime friend of the program. One of the first major guests we've had on the Upper Bowl podcast from probably 2021 turned around. Brendan Tobin, welcome back to the pod. And it's how you doing, by the way?
I'm good, buddy. Thanks for having me.
How we doing? All right, let's talk about this AFC East. There are the Dolphins were a punching bag. We're not going to start off with them. We might as well start with the Jets. But what's your overall thoughts on this AFC East division? So it's people say it's everyone's playing for second place, or is it really is this just set it and forget it? The Bills are just going to whip up on this division like always.
I mean, that's what the odds makers would have you believe. You know, going over what the preseason odds are, they're the far and away favorite of their division. It does feel a little reminiscent of when the Patriots were on their run and everybody else seemed like they were playing for second and everybody else was colliding into each other and just couldn't figure things out. You know, I know we'll get into all the teams, but it just feels like one's got like the new car smell, one is the Jets, and the Dolphins are just like, do they have a last run in them, or is this just going to combust and be a disaster? And it really could go either way. I don't really have an answer. And so it reminds you back of when New England was just laughing at everybody, you know, getting their new coaches, trying every which way to get their ducks in a row. And they would just end up, you know, maybe they'd have a slow start, but they'd end up finishing it off, you know, 11 wins, 12 wins. And work their way into the playoffs. And so, yeah, it does feel very much like Buffalo is doing that, because it felt like last year Buffalo was in a bit of a recalibrate year as it was. And, you know, they still just own the Dolphins. And, you know, people laughed at me last year, mostly my co-host, where I was like, hey, week 2 is a statement game and it's going to determine the season. And it did. I mean, It 100% did. They got waxed. Tua got hurt. It's the embodiment of everything that has been Dolphins and Bills for the last 4 years, and set the tone for the rest of the season. So, you know, I do think this is the Bills division until proven otherwise, until somebody else can do it. Everything else is just thrown up to hopes and maybes because nobody's else been able to do anything.
I did that post game show. That was the most depressing post game show I've ever been a part of. And I told myself I had notes on the phone. Tua look this, Tua look that. The Bills are the same old, same old. And I looked at it again. And I was like, then the injury happened. I literally threw my phone up in the air. It's like, thanks a lot, Tua and the Dolphins. You got rid of all my material I was ready to use anyway. So that's how I view that game, anyways. Since you grew up, we both watched the Patriots dominate the AFC East. Do we miss the Patriot fan just dominating the AFC East, or are you enjoying the Bills fan a little more?
That's a good question. Who's more annoying? I just think that the thing with the Bills fan that is a little bit unbecoming is like they have been, you know, they know that misery because they had their own little streak of not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And, you know, and now like the one time when the Dolphins did beat them, like they were like whining about the sun, like it hasn't been hot down here in the history of time. So I do find that unbecoming. But nobody's more annoying than Boston fans. I mean, like, you know, because like the Bills, it's all they have. You know, I guess the Sabres too, but
the Sabres have been irrelevant since the Flyers.
Yeah, so it's all they have. It's their thing. It's what they identify with. Boston, bleh, you know, it's just they can crank it up to another level. But that's what it is. Like, I don't think when you're the Patriots and you have Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, like I think you just think it lasts forever. And when it's gone, these things are very hard to replace. It's not easy to just replace stars and what stars can give you and what they mean to a franchise. You can look right now, even in town down here, on both franchises. I mean, hell, they've been looking for Marino's heir basically since he retired. Tua is probably the closest thing to it, but he's nowhere near as beloved as Dan was.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, with the Heat, like they've kind of replicated it a little bit with Jimmy coming down here. But like nobody's been Dwayne Wade, and even though you can get very good guys, you know, you only get so many icons when you have them. And so I don't feel bad for the Patriot fan at all, and I do already feel like they think that because they have Mike Vrabel, it's takeover time, and I don't know. I just don't think it's
I
that yet.
I'm actually like I've typed trying to hype myself up for the Patriots to be somewhat entertaining now for Able, because it's like the Dolphin fan doesn't do anything for me. Like the Northeast Dolphin fan will say something to my face. The South Florida Dolphin fan won't say anything to me. So I'm like, I need the Patriot fan to like really be in your face again, like especially to me because I could say whatever I want. And I kind of miss that with like a Northeast because like the Giant fan is down, the Jet fan is like dead. The Bills fan is the most nicest person on the block to me, anyways. And the Patriot fan, I still look at them like I need you to be mean again because I kind of want you to be like entertaining and like with Vrabel back, it'll be like Vrabel ball and just all the bullies will be out again. I kind of miss that with football right now in the AFC East.
I also am just so sick of them. Like, it is one of these things too with them where like they're still so obsessed about the glory days. And like obviously we've had a very fun spring with Bill Belichick's personal life disaster. Yes. But like even again, like recently where like he has to put out a statement to counter Robert Kraft. It's like, guys, we don't care who deserves more credit. First of all, the answer is Tom Brady, but like we don't care about who deserves the most credit for your dominant reign of 20 years and 6 Super Bowls. It was miserable. We all hated it. You cheated and you got away with it. Just move on. And yet they all just want to be miserable old men, particularly Robert Kraft and Bill Belichick, about who deserves this, who deserves that. It's like this modern day Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones. But like, I don't know, it's like a less cool version of it because at least Jimmy was like charismatic. And then even Jimmy like got to a point where like he kind of moved on after he retired. But Bill Belichick's like, what? I was taking a risk on you. No, we took a risk on. It's like, who cares? And so like they're still even trying to like relive all that drama while this is you're hopeful that hey, maybe you have a quarterback, maybe you now have the coach who's gonna set the tone, maybe you've built something there, but no, like they're still obsessing about stuff from 6 years ago.
I think it's the greatest thing on ever. It's a great story anyways. And I feel like if Bill Belichick falls flat on his face in North Carolina, it's gonna be even louder in the triangle of North Carolina and also up in Massachusetts. And people will say, like, told you we were right the whole time. If Brady was number one, then you were number two, anyways.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like, look, it is crazy to see him in this position where, we're seeing his personal life out in the forefront. There's no doubt that's something I never expected to see. And I think like when people are like, oh, who cares? And this is like, no, dude, like this is bananas for people who have watched what this guy was growing up and what he was as just a guy who just kept it all football. Remember like when they won that one Super Bowl? I don't remember which one it was. I don't remember if it was the last one, the second last one, where he tried to chant do your job and like
that was the Falcons one.
Yeah, just couldn't take off the ground. Like no one was like, all right, Bill. That was him. And now it's like, what is this? You have this crazy scenario of like a woman who runs your brand and PR and ring lights, and I'm flummoxed by it. It's crazy.
As we recorded this before he speaks on ACC Media Day, as ACC Media Game is going on currently right now. I wish we could bring you the clips, but we don't have any yet. But we will scheduling notice. That'll be on next week's pod, anyways. We'll talk about that. Let's get through the division. We'll start with the Jets. I like the Jets' new head coach. I feel like I've talked myself into 3 Jets head coaches who will be entertaining. I feel Eric Lynn will be at least be more entertaining. Not as the Rex Ryan, but he'll be at least be entertaining like Herm Edwards. Am I crazy to say that?
No, I think, I don't know, like, much about Aaron Glenn other than what I've seen on Hard Knocks. And he seems like he's got a great personality. He feels like he's going to handle that all in stride pretty well. It's just, he's
a Parcells guy, at least.
Yeah. It seems to me like I don't feel like he's really made his move yet. It's like you're taking over. He's probably going to try and make that defense badass again. They have some guys who are talented players. I just don't really believe in Justin Fields. So I don't truly believe he's going to unlock anything. And so we're going to be in this position where I think like if all things broke right for them,
Yeah.
then yeah, maybe they could be a spunky 7-win team. But I don't truly believe they're going to do any real winning. But you know, I don't have any reason to believe that guy's going to be an ass clown. He feels like he can handle it. It does, but it does, you know, wonder like, all right, if there is something that goes awry, like does Woody Johnson step in or one of his teenagers, you know, go in there and, you know, ruin it because something's not cool or working that day? Like that's the thing that's crazy is they seem to have of a division that's got Stephen Ross in it. Woody Johnson is giving Stephen Ross a run for his money as like, you know, just the biggest clown in the division as far as like keeping things inconsistent.
Has gotten that crown since 2010 anyway. So
I don't know, dude. I mean, like, look, Woody Johnson they've still been to 2 conference championships. I mean, like, look, think about this. Stephen Ross has never won a playoff game since owning the Dolphins. You know how crazy that is?
Yeah, I know.
Like with all the money he spends, it's like it's still just been a disaster left and right. And Woody Johnson's at least, you know, stumbled his way, even with a coach with a secret OnlyFans account or whatever the hell him and Mrs. Ryan had at the time.
Feet Finder. It was Feet Finder account. It was a Feet Finder.
Great
account.
for them. And happy. I'm not here to king shame anybody, but like they still made it to the conference championship multiple times, and the Dolphins have not. And so, no, I don't think he does. I don't think that Woody Johnson does have the crown from Stephen Ross.
I always go by this crown. If you have a private plane just flying over practice facility and you have fire whoever the GM is, that's like king on king status of being a clown or owner. Unless we see a Dolphin fan, I don't know if there's any Dolphin fans that have a private plane that has to do the banner thing. If they do that over the Baptist Health Center in South Florida when Joe Rose is doing a show, that's when we know we are peak Jets. By the way,
yeah, that's been more of a Canes thing as of recent years than it has been. But it was funny because, you know, Trevor, I don't know, you've been down in the market now for like 5 years. 3? Okay.
It'll be 4 in January.
Okay, so you've never really been down here when you've gotten the Stephen Ross press conference. Like this guy used to like do the Jerry Jones thing. He used to do the Woody Johnson thing where like he held court and he would say ridiculous stuff and he would have things that made no sense. And we'd all laugh at him. He'd be like, you know, he'd be like, oh, we're going to take over the town because LeBron left. And it's like, all right. And then you would fall flat on your face because you had Joe Philbin.
Yeah.
And, you know, he would just have all these wild statements and none of it would come to fruition. And everything, you know, I guess things are better than when he, you know, after he shut up and it was like, no more talking, just football. You know,
maybe talk about the few Equinox clubs he owns. Anyways, don't forget that.
Sure, yeah, but like this guy used to be like a laughingstock. But I do think that even when they've introduced coaches, like he doesn't talk anymore, and I do think that's kind of crazy. I was, you know, thinking about this just watching Jerry Jones and Mike Brown talk this week, and I'm like, man, this guy hasn't put any like real voice to his team. That seems like it's gone through a lot of turmoil over the last 5 years between his team getting sued, accused of tampering, accused of tanking, all of this stuff, and nobody is really here to answer for it. It's really nuts. And I don't even really know where the reporters would begin with him, but like just start off with, is this a coach GM that you truly believe in? I guess the actions would say no, because of how like they haven't really invested very much in the team this year because they did that last year. But I do think it's pretty crazy that, you know, even at his age, because he'll do, you know, one stint with like Goldstein and Kimbo Camper in the one home game, but he won't say anything. He'll say we're a Super Bowl contender if healthy, and then
I saw that and I said like shut. I looked at it, I was like, just shut the fuck up. Give me a clip like Jerry Jones. Like it's been too long. Say something wild for me so I can laugh at you at least.
It was crazy. No, man, like this guy, you know, like the early Stephen Ross who like got busted trying to get, you know, Jim Harbaugh as his coach.
Yes, I remember that. I was in college.
You know, but like, the thing is like his moves are never like stupid. Like he's been getting caught trying to get very good coaches, but he just somehow can never do it and always ends up with like his third choice of a guy because he went around it with the wrong protocol. But we're sitting here and the Dolphin fan is, rightfully pissed because they, had a team a couple of years ago that seemed like it was finally going to do something and then fell on its face.
Yep.
And then you gave all this money to Tua and Tyreek and all the guys, and it all blew up in their face. And now it's like, all right, they've tightened the belt. It feels like, the coach and the GM are like, do it or you're fired.
Mm-hmm.
But man, we really do hear nothing from him. And Manny's also getting to an age where I don't even know if he will ever do it again because, his daughter's supposed to take over the team. It was supposed to be Bruce Beal before he got, caught for tampering. So I just found that interesting with all the owners talking this week. And Woody Johnson will speak of the owners. He doesn't talk. We don't hear from the guy anymore.
He's probably stuck in Ireland. That's my one joke we've said on this podcast. The Jet fan will be happy once he go back to Ireland or somewhere in Europe, like the Roonies did once. This is my big thing about the Jets. Do you even believe in Garrett Wilson or Sauce Gardner at all? I think they're just like they had their moment, and now I just forget about them all the time.
I think they're good players. I think they're good players. It's just I actually don't blame them so much because it felt like they were good building blocks, and they just invested in an Aaron Rodgers who was old and his Achilles blew up, and
yep.
I think that just kind of derailed everything for them. Their offensive line they've never seemed to really get a hold of. Their turf is made of quicksand apparently, and nobody can seem to play in it. So I don't think that they're untalented players. I think they're just in this spot where they're play for the Jets. Like Wilson had one of the best catches of the year last year, but I think he's fine. I think he's a good receiver. I think Sauce, everybody I think was making Sauce out to be like some combination of Revis and prime Jalen Ramsey. I don't necessarily know that he's that, but I also don't think that I don't think that he's gotten to the point where he's not a good player, but I don't think either one of them are going to be the needle mover that makes them, a surprise wild card team.
No, I call him like here's what I compared Sauce Gardner to a Kerry Rhodes at least from back in the day.
Yeah, a little bit.
He's a little bit of Kerry Rhodes and maybe not Jim Leonard at least, but those are the two I just think of for Jets like great back defensive ends, DBs at least. Kerry Rhodes, I just like you have to live up to Wayne Corbett, and that's very hard to do because he was the typical white guy, just go over the slot, no gloves, just you'll get concussed anyway. So That's what I go by. 5.5 is the win total. I looked at the schedule. I could give you 6 wins at least. Am I crazy to say that?
Let me pull it up here. Let me see. Because I don't think, just going on the Dolphins schedule, I'm like, it's not that brutal of a schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they start with Aaron Rodgers. That's going to be juicy as hell. Then they got.
I would say that's a Steeler win. I'm feeling.
Oh man, you would think so. I mean, it is. I mean, he may have like PTSD because he's got to step onto that field, and
it's not the worst. That's not the one time that the Meadowlands had a horrible field. Anyways, it was back in the early 2000s and late 90s when they had awful turf and grass. Anyways,
I just don't understand how anybody has terrible grass. Like you would think in today's day and age, $1 billion industry that they would have like the creme de la creme. I know like Stephen Ross, the one good thing is apparently we learned that he bought a grass farm. But I don't understand.
That's a good investment.
I don't understand how everybody else is sitting here and being like, yeah, what's the cheapest turf we can have?
Well the thing is, the Jets and Giants, they can't agree on the field surface, so they have to go with turf. That's why.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I know. That's why I always call the Giants like you live with these rats anyways.
But yeah, I think it's possible because I think if I'm eyeballing it, obviously they got Buffalo. At Tampa's not easy. Denver's decent.
At the Saints, that's an easy win.
I never know what the Bengals are going to be. At Baltimore, but yeah,
the Cowboys, which would be a Cowboy home game.
But like Falcons, Jags,
they could probably go. They could probably go like 3-1 versus the NFC South.
Yeah, like Falcons, Jags, Saints are all winnable games. I think for them.
Yeah,
Dolphins, you split. And Carolina,
That's a win.
maybe,
Like,
so yeah, I think you're on there. I think 6 wins is definitely doable for them.
yeah, I think they're going to go 3-1 versus the AFC South. The only loss will be against Tampa at Tampa in like 100-degree weather, anyways. So that's early, and like their big signature win will probably be like the Jaguar game. So it'll be the one game they show on Red Zone that'll go late, anyways. Am I right? Right? Wrong?
Yeah, I think that's probably. I mean, like it's going to be. It's a pretty. I mean, it's not the easiest start. It's going to be interesting to see what they start out as and what that does for their drama, because it feels like they start a lot harder than it becomes. Like it feels like the kind of the middle part of their season is the toughest, is the easiest part of that thing. But like, yeah, like Pittsburgh, Buffalo, at Tampa, at Miami in a prime time, going to Dallas,
home for the Cowboys, home
for the Cowboys, home for Denver. It's not the easiest for 6 weeks. And well, I guess the Denver game's international. I'm not sure where that is.
I think it's England, probably. Speaking of London, speaking of the international games, are you excited for Spain for the Dolphins and the Redskins?
I mean, no, I don't. I'm so over international games.
You're over. Like I after seeing Brazil, I was like, never again. Eagles are done. They've done their international quota. I go by.
Yeah, I talk about this time with fights too. Like, like this has become such a thing when I watch UFC, is like every time some guy is from somewhere, everybody's like, Dana, this guy's he's from I think I had some guy from Germany. They're like, when are you guys gonna come to Germany? And it's like all right, I don't need because they try to do this with like the sphere. We got to do one at the Sphere. It's like, all right, it meant nothing to anybody at home. Nobody cared. Just put the fight. Like I don't really care. There's like the rare was like this past week with like Dustin Poirier, who's had a whole career. Give him one fight in New Orleans, the place is going to go bananas. Or Masvidal, a whole lifetime of fighting, he gets one in Miami. Yeah. But these guys, like every time, every question's like, Dana, this guy's from Panama. Don't you think we should fight in Panama? I'm like, it's literally like every press conference the guy does. So now it just feels like it's like, oh, we're the first team to go to Spain. I'm like, that's cool for the season ticket holders who can ball like that and go get paella and pigskin. But yeah, like, I don't care. I've got to be up early in the morning. I probably got to be up super early because I'll be doing some pregame. Like, I'm not super into the international games anymore. It's just, its novelty has worn off. And it always feels like, for the Dolphins, it feels like it's ended in a disaster because you had the Chiefs game in Germany. Yep. That went terrible. I think of them losing to the Jaguars and Urban Meyer. They had the one with Joe Philbin being weird with Ryan Tannehill. Like, he got fired after that game against the Jets. Yeah, there's not a good track record of international Dolphins games. Like, the first time I remember them doing it, they had like a giant Jason Taylor blow up thing, and they kind of had a novelty to them as one of the teams. Then I think Jacksonville kind of took that from them as like London's team. Mm-hmm. But who cares? Yeah, I don't, and I think what I'm most worried about is like, Commanders. They're kind of good. That's gonna be a tough one for them. I always blame the Giant fan. Like, cool, you were the first international game in London versus the Dolphins. Nobody really watched that game except in the tri-state area and Florida. Nobody else watched it anyways, and you blacked out the late game for us. And I'm like, unless it is the Dolphins, I feel like this every week where I'm just like, I'll walk into either the studio or I'll walk in or I'll be home and be like, oh yeah, that's the international game this week. I never like have any anticipation for it, and I don't know where it is. And they're like, oh, where's this one today? Oh, this one's in Germany. Oh, this one's in France. Oh, this one's in London. Okay, cool. Who cares? One of the funnier thing is the Cowboys haven't done an international game since 2014. I didn't know that. Yeah, I was looking at it because we were doing the show last year. It's like Eagles have to go to Brazil, and I looked at who's gone in the NFC. It's like the Cowboys haven't done a game overseas since London versus the Jaguars. I'm looking at it like, what the fuck are we doing here? And I was like, are they just waiting to send the Rams and the Cowboys to Australia next year? That's my personal guess. Oh my God. Yeah. Like, just like whatever thing they can do just to say that they did it. But I always wonder, like, do they care? is this making the game bigger? Like,
That's what I always say.
I don't know. I mean, I suppose, look, I'm not a huge soccer person, but like, I mean, though, there's people who get up here early on a Saturday and they're watching their teams and they have their little kits to act like they're sophisticated soccer football.
Or your
fans.
throwback kits look cool and look like a hipster.
Yeah, but I'm like, do you think anybody is like, is there a huge imprint, or is it just kind of like an NFL swinging their dick thing where it's like, yeah, look at this, we just put ourselves in the next part. We're doing it in Finland this year, and everybody's like, where's Barkov? What's going on here?
Where's Yuri Lettinen at? The king of the Finnish of hockey players. So
it's crazy.
What's your thoughts on Vrabel going back to New England? When you saw that, did you thought that he would go there, or do you think he'll go somewhere else at first?
Nah, it seemed to make all the sense in the world. I think the only thing is I feel bad for Gerard Mayo. I don't really feel like he got
the raw deal.
Yeah, he got a raw deal. I feel like that was kind of that was kind of nasty. That because especially like this is the thing that I found weird about Gerard Mayo, and I guess they said like he was too buddy with the players and things like whatever, but. Wasn't the word that they had him picked out for like years as the guy, and like you gave him 1 year with a rookie quarterback? Like that's pretty rough. So
and Jacoby Brissett too.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of lousy for them to do that to him. But Vrabel seems like he makes all the sense in the world. He's a Pats guy. Are you
shocked that Josh McDaniel's back in the league though?
No, I honestly, he's like the son that just can't get out of, just can't get it out on his own. Like he's just going to be there forever. Once Vrabel doesn't work out, I'm sure he'll go for a year, and then whoever comes back, like it'll be Wes Welker as head coach, and guess who'll be the offensive coordinator? Josh McDaniels.
Then him get like Vrabel's a head coach again. He gets a big one. He's like,
yeah, like he can't quit them. Every time he's like, I think I'm going to do something different, honey. I'm going to go. She goes, oh yeah, that's nice, honey. And then a year later, guess where we're going back? Wes Welker got the job. We're head coach of New England. We're going to be the offensive coordinator of New England again.
What's worse, him being the Denver Broncos head coach, the Raider head coach, or the OC for Sam Bradford for the Rams?
Man, I forgot about the Rams one. I gotta say the Broncos one. The Broncos. I remember we had DJ Williams. I did. We had him on 790 for a little bit, and so we got to do him once a week. And he said that like he was a lost cause.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said he was a lost cause. So I'm gonna go with that. The Raiders didn't really.
I looked at it. He's gonna get fired in 2 years. Wake me up when he does. That's what I said.
Yeah, 100%.
What were your thoughts when you saw Stephon Diggs with the pink bag of drugs?
Looked like he's a good time. Like he's having a good time. The only thing I thought is, first of all, I forgot that he was a Patriot when that was all happening. I thought he was just kind of floating in the ether, just doing whatevs. Mm-hmm. But then when I was like, oh man, he's a Patriot, and I felt to myself like, oh man, 5 years ago when Belichick was there, or 6 years ago when Belichick was there, like that feels like it would have been a much bigger deal.
Yeah.
But I think Vrabel can handle that okay. I guess it's just a question is he that guy anymore coming off the injury? Like, is that truly a difference making move for them as far as receivers concerned? Like, do you look at Stephon Diggs as still that guy? Because it already kind of felt like he was on the downward trajectory as it was. And then I kind of like, who else do they got right now? They got Mac Hollins, annoying as hell with his TikToks.
Eagles legend Matt Collins too also.
Oh my God. That's a guy I'm so over. Like, oh, look at me show up with my bare feet.
Right. He's one of those grounding guys. That's what I think it's a new popular thing that Kyrie Irving did. I think he was probably the starter of it, Matt Collins, and he gave it to Kyrie, I'm guessing.
He definitely has been, he's definitely been doing it for a while. And he'd do like these TikToks like the more you know, and he'd be like, today we learn about the origin of rubber bands. It's like, fascinating, Matt Collins. Thank you. Just go down a punt.
don't fumble a punt and get cut the next day after a loss to the Dolphins.
Yeah, just So I don't know, but I'm sure that my feeling is like they're gonna roll into it with trying to put Drake May in a position almost like Harbaugh. Like I think they're going to just go old school Titans. Like it's going to be a running football team, but they got some tools that will allow their young quarterbacks to see. It's probably a solid plan for them to do that and see if they got their whole line put together.
I like the Will Campbell kid a lot, actually. I said that if the Giants were smart, they would take this kid out of that list.
Yeah.
But they weren't.
And I know, and he's one of those guys where they're like, nah, I can't draft him because he's got T-Rex arms. I'm like, really? Like, that's all right. If you say so.
Yeah, definitely. Over-under's 8.5. Am I crazy to say 7 and 10?
I don't think you are. I'm a little bit, this is the team where I'm just like, everybody's already chalking them up to pass the Dolphins. Vegas is, everybody is saying, oh, no, they're the second place team. And I just kind of feel like everybody's doing that based on Vrabel.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. Like, I look at them and I don't see a team that's very talented.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're just going off of structure and credibility of his Titansness, cool, but okay, they're definitely not as good as the Bills. And, people are sitting here and they're like, oh, they're for sure better than the Dolphins. I'm like, it depends on Tua. Like if Tua's playing, then I don't think so. If Tua's playing, Vrabel gave him one of his worst games of his career on the Titans.
Yeah.
But
two bad games.
But he's been, Tua's been tremendous against New England his entire career. So
which is wild.
Yeah, it's a really strange thing. Can't beat the Bills, but he's the Patriots' daddy.
If Tua was going against Tom Brady, would this record be crazier, you think? Or would it be like more of a marquee game like Brady versus Tua if Brady stayed in Miami? Brady stayed in New England.
Maybe. I mean, the thing that's interesting with Tom he had a run there kind of in the 2000s where the Dolphins would always get him a year.
Yeah,
they'd get him once a year, and he would say that
football game too.
Yeah, that's why he had so much respect for Jason Taylor. The Dolphins actually, played Brady. It was the other games. It would be like, oh yeah, but you can't beat the Seahawks randomly on one day. It would be mind numbing stuff like that. But no, I think that would have been interesting for sure if he would have stuck around. But look, it seemed like Tom Brady was snooping around his job and trying to take his job for there a little bit. If they didn't get busted tampering, he probably would have been the Dolphins quarterback.
Which would have been crazy. Anyway, that would have been the funniest thing to me to walk into. Tom Brady's the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. Who would have thought? Anyways, all right. Here's the Patriots' first five weeks: home for the Raiders, at the Dolphins, home for the Steelers, home for the Carolina Panthers, and at Buffalo. Sunday Night Football.
Right, and I'm looking at that, and I'm thinking to myself, I think they'll be favored in 2 of those games.
I could say 2-2.
Yeah, I think they'll be favored against Vegas at home, and I think they'll be favored against Carolina at home. But
I could see 3-1 too. I don't trust this. I want the Steeler team to fall apart like House of Cards.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't. I feel like if any, we're gonna know pretty quickly, right? If it works. But I do feel like that's a team that's got more talent than the Patriots. Especially with the TJ Watt thing settled. And also I could see them starting off hot and then they get old and break down by the middle of the year. That's something I can see as well. But I think early on, I don't know. I think that for me, I can honestly see them being 1-3. I don't know.
I see 2-2. I think the Patriot Dolphin game week 2 will at least be entertaining. I'll say that.
It's going to be a monster one. The Dolphins 3 out of 4 start with division games. So you could be definitely looking at a scenario where Mike McDaniel, after losing to Buffalo, is going to be coaching for his job on Monday Night Football. People think Leroy and I are getting into arguments about this. He goes, "That's way too soon." I'm like, I don't think it is. If you imagine the Dolphins win week 1 and then lose the next 2 games and are in a position to go 1-3 with 3 division losses. I don't think the coach survives that.
Let's talk about the Dolphins now. So, since you said that, this is the first 4 weeks. Home at the Colts, home for the Patriots, at the Bills, Thursday Night Football, quick week. Monday Night Football versus the Jets, at Carolina, versus Justin Hebert. I'm going to have you say this before Justin Herbert gets his name back. You got to say Justin Hebert, like Bobby Hebert, the old Saints quarterback. That's what we've decided on the podcast. If you want to run with us, you could go try it out for size at least. Justin Hebert. Would you cool with that?
I feel like it's going to confuse Leroy too much on the show. He loves Bobby Hebert.
I think he'll be fucking perfect. That's why. Just call him that. I honestly see the bye week. If I had to choose, if they're going to fire both McDaniel and Greer after international game, they're going to clean house. That's my personal opinion.
I can see it. I don't think they would fire. Like, I think Chris Greer is going to last the season. He's going to get fired after the season. Because, like, what's the point of firing the GM in the middle of the season? You know,
other teams have done it.
I guess. I feel, from my standpoint, is like, I think there's going to be like multiple tests for the Dolphins, and it's going to be one of these where, like I said, if they start bad and they lose 4 weeks into it, because here's the thing. I just think it's going to show something for the Dolphins. The one problem that Mike's going to have if the Dolphins start off badly is they already have a guy in his coaching staff who's like they're going to give the nod to for interim, and that's going to be Anthony Weaver. And they're just going to be like, we've just finished the season out. And they're going to see if they like him because that guy's already gotten head coaching interviews, and you know everybody seems to really, really respect the guy. So it's not Mike's problem. There is that like when you who are you going to replace him with? It's like, well, probably just replace him with Anthony Weaver for the rest of the season. Frank Smith can call the plays, and it's just a matter of this leadership isn't working. Let's get him out of here. You know, and then let's say he gets through the first 4 and they're 2-2. Yeah. You know, they're just in Dolphin 500 land, and then they can kind of beef up the schedule a little bit.
3-1. Let's say 3-1.
Let's say 3-1, and they're going to be in a spot where they can beef up the schedule a little bit with Carolina, the Chargers, the Browns, Falcons, who knows? But then, you know, you'll have a little run there, and then you probably have your biggest like test of the season right there with home Baltimore, home Buffalo, and then the paella and pigskin before the bye week. If the Dolphins get drubbed those 3 games, or even 2 out of 3, and the Dolphins are back in a position where, you know, the record's not looking so hot, then yeah, I can totally see your scenario of, you know, the international explosion. But I do think that that's really the Dolphins' teeth where they're like, hey, the Dolphins every year not only have to prove, can they be a physical team? Can they win in December? But they also have, can they beat good teams? Can they beat teams that are of real consequence? Well, those are 3 teams that you know are going to very much likely be teams of consequence because Buffalo always wins the division. Baltimore is tremendous, and Washington looks like they're on the up and up. So I think that those are, I think that the start of the season and right before the bye week are kind of all their first. Those are like the start of the season, the first test. The second test is right before the bye week, those 3 weeks. And then the other test is going to be inevitably just December and just like, how is the team holding up?
But you have 3 home games from November to December anyways, which is like the Saints you'll win. The Saints are brutal.
Probably.
Even though they have Kellen Moore, which I kind of have a weird thing. Everyone's given a bye year because I don't like their quarterback selection at all. I have this weird theory.
Who they take? Shuck?
Yeah, from Louisville. He literally looks like Drew Brees. Have you looked at the photos? Like comparison?
No. I think everybody who's like average looking looks like Drew Brees though.
I know. Here's my theory. That team's going to tank or just be puking chunks.
Probably.
Arch Manning's be the first.
That's like
I have that weird feeling. Arch Manning's be the QB of the future for the New Orleans Saints out of all teams.
Isn't Shuck like 27?
I think so.
Isn't he super old? Like he's like a Brandon Whedon. These guys are even older now too because they have the COVID years. It's crazy.
The COVID years kill me. Let's also the other side. Like, what's the worst home game this year for the opposing fans to be? They're going to invade the Dolphin fan. What do you say?
Good question.
It's not AFC East usual. That's not the Bills fan. That's a simple one. That's not.
I'm trying to see like.
If you didn't lose the game to Spain, I think the Washington fan would show up at least.
Yeah, there's not a terrible one. I think you know what? It's probably the Ravens. There's a sneaky amount of Ravens fans down here.
I've noticed. I question them actually.
Yeah, there's a sneaky amount of Ravens fans down here. I actually always remembered I worked in Delray Beach for a little bit, this electrical company, and the brews room that I
Oh,
worked
really?
next to was a Ravens bar, and a ton of Ravens fans would go there. But I also worked concession stands at the Dolphins when I was in college, and the Ravens were always a pretty big draw. Ravens, but like if you're saying non-AFC team, and I don't think the Patriots, I don't think they're going to be established as good enough yet
Yeah.
to them to have the full invasion of Boston. And then Buffalo, they're gonna hang out at the Panthers place, the Panthers bar for a little bit, and do their stupid jump through the table thing. But I would,
Hey,
if I have to guess one, I would say the Ravens.
I would say Cincinnati at least because it's cold and the Cincinnati fan wants to get out of the snow already of Cincinnati, Ohio, or and Northern Kentucky at least.
I can't say, I don't sense them as like a well traveling fan base. I don't notice them very much.
You kind of notice them starting to at least because I've been to like a few rando games, like
Just because of Joe Butro, he's so popular now.
Andy Dalton back in the day, Carson Palmer, doesn't matter who really. I have a weird love for Cincinnati fans because most of my college buddies are Cincy fans, so and like we run into someone wearing like a Chad Johnson jersey, so that's the other thing. Chad will probably be at the Dolphins Bengal game no matter what.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would venture to say that. And look, if the Dolphins are decent, like I think the thing that's going to be sexy is like, yeah, you got the Herbert matchup, you got the Boothrow matchup, so you do have some fun QB versus QB ones. Him versus Baker's a fun matchup. Like,
oh yeah,
it's just a matter of like if they're going to be good. But if things are humming for the Dolphins, and it really depends on this O-line because I legitimately, Trevor, have no idea if it's good or not. I don't know. I'm definitely at peace that I don't have to worry about Teron Armstead inevitably breaking down, but I have no idea if Patrick Paul can be a starting left tackle. I have no idea if the dude's James Daniels. I have no idea if his Achilles is good to go. All right, Brewer had a pretty good year last year, all things considering, even though him and Tua couldn't snap the football to each other for half the season.
The Arizona kid.
Yeah. And then you have Savai Naya, who they traded up for, so he better be damn good. Which is a lot of pressure for a second rounder, but everybody's like, they vaulted up to go get him. And then Austin Jackson's coming off of injury too. So and then they brought Liam Eichenberg back, which, that's, the fact that they're a snap away from putting him on the football field again is crazy to me.
Were you mad that you guys didn't bring back Connor Williams? Because I actually liked him as a center for you guys. Because I was saying, like, he's actually holding the offensive line. I got criticized. Then people told me, shut the fuck up, Trevor. You don't know football. And I said this. I threw the mic up.
I thought the thing that was interesting with Connor Williams is Connor Williams didn't, he came here, he was a guard, and they turned him into a center. And then, like, he was trying to, like, hold out in mini camp, and then he stopped.
Yeah.
Because they're like, hey, dude, like, what do you think your market is? Like, we made you a center. Like, you think, you're Brett Romberg all of a sudden? Like, I don't think so, dude. So he, him having and then he apparently had a really bad knee injury, which he didn't really get all the way back from. So I got that one. Like, if I was going to give Mike McDaniel the benefit of the doubt on somebody and having an eye for a center, like, when, one of the things I'll do is, like, whenever they get somebody who's like, it's an innocuous position, we don't really like, like, oh, the Dolphins got a center from Tennessee. And what I saw was, like, everybody on the Titans message boards was like, oh, this guy sucks. Good luck, Dolphins. He was fun. He was a good blocker. Him and Tua couldn't get on the same page with the snapping. But to be fair, that might be a Tua thing because him and Connor Williams had the same problem. I don't know if it's, if Tua's just, not great at getting the football because I don't know. He gets too cute because, Tua likes to do those flip-de-doo, no look passes. And so I don't know. I don't know if that's something that gets jumpy there. But this has been a thing for Tua his whole career. And Tua doesn't – people think that Tua has small hands. He doesn't have small hands.
No.
But I don't know if he has good hands.
What were your thoughts when Kendall Lamb called out the Dolphins culture when he signed with Philadelphia?
He didn't do that.
Okay.
That was a fake story. I fell for that. I got NBA sentled. That turned out to be a fake story. I ran with that. And because there's this Dolphins account that is a pretty good Twitter account. It's called Fins Extra. And they were the ones that I saw put it on there, right? And then I started, and dude, it went crazy. And by the way, I don't blame you because I saw all the Eagles blogs pick this up too. And
I said people ask you like, what's the story about? I was like, let me look for the article and stuff. Anyways,
right. So, but everybody said, oh, he said this to ESPN. And dude, I went to Kendall Lamb page on ESPN. Like, there's nothing about it. You know, like when you click on a player on ESPN, if ESPN wrote a story about him, it's going to be on their page.
Oh yeah.
And it didn't exist. And so he had to come out and he's like, I didn't say, he's like, if I said this, I don't remember saying this. I didn't say this. And I kind of believe him. That doesn't really seem like Kendall Lamb's style. He was a very kind of just show up, do his job. He wasn't an outspoken guy. So, but here's the thing. In today's day and age, what people have to be careful of is like, you can get God because if we did this the other day with both my producers, Marcos and Jennifer, fell for this story that like Sergei Bobrovsky lost, I don't remember what it was, 25 pounds in a game one time and like the triple overtime. Like, there's no way that's true. There's no way that's true. But it was just on Instagram, so people believed it. So that's not a real story. But I think even here's the thing. To get to the point of it, there was something that was even worse that was really said. And that was by Bradley Chubb this year, because Bradley Chubb, he was asked about the Dolphins' leadership and their culture and all that, because the Dolphins, all this stuff that has been the buzz story, they said all this stuff last year. And he literally was like, yeah, we lied about that. Like, well, great. Well, awesome. Awesome. Great. Good to know. So we'll just sit here and, move on. Like, I know Tyreek Hill today, he was like talking to the reporters, and we're doing this on the day they reported.
Yeah.
And he's like,
I need to be better about myself.
Yeah, I've always thought, what would happen if I completely focused on football? And I'm like, I don't know, dude. You'd go for 3,000 yards. Like, what do you think's gonna happen? Like, shut up. Like, what do you mean?
The best thing's Jerry Rice. So stop it.
we get it. Like there's no. I'm not saying Tyreek Hill's not going to be good this year. I think he will be, just based on like, especially if the quarterback can stay healthy, which is like the caveat you have to have for everything with the Dolphins. But I'm going to really focus on football this year. It's like, all right, dude, you're still the fastest thing on the field. I think focused on football. Not the dude. He got put in handcuffs before opening day, and he had his best game of the season. Like, yeah, focus on football. This guy, that was an incredible feat in itself. But I can't take that seriously when he's like, oh yeah, if I would just bear down and really hit the books on that. No, I'm not.
This
buying
is when the
that.
FCC needs to get real. Just shut the fuck up, Tyreek Hill. Go play football at least.
It's just like enough. It's just enough.
Are you sick and tired of him yet, or no? Is he starting to run its course in Miami?
Yeah, I honestly thought, dude, when he did what he did at the end of the season, and I know that he was hurt, I know he played through the wrist thing, but it just was like, it was such a bad look. Like, he walked off the field, and you had like Jalen Waddle just looking at him like dumbfounded, like, what? You just done? Like, that's it? And then the Dolphins had to like go full damage control on it, because it kind of felt like they wanted to get rid of him. And then he, of course, gets said some more off-season altercations in his personal life, which always drums up the drama. And I just kind of feel like there's no market for him, and I think that they are, if they're truthful with themselves, they're like, well, we can't bite this one and the Jalen Ramsey thing, whatever the hell happened there.
What do you think happened there, though? We get to go to there soon.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second, but I think I definitely think it's run its course. I think I think everybody's tired of this shtick. I think, you go from 1,800 to under 1,000, banged up or not. Yes, credit for showing up every week, banged up. But yeah, he needs a huge bounce back to make everybody forget what he's doing. Now, he does look in tremendous shape. He has been doing this track stuff. He does look a lot lighter. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but and I do think their receiving core is a little more interesting. I think that the Westbrook Akine pickup's good. Malik Washington looked really strong last year. Yeah, they lose Jonnu Smith. I'm not too worried about that. I think it's honestly probably good that they focus on getting the ball to their receivers a little bit more.
Yeah.
And
Can Waddle at least learn a slant route, please? Can just
Yeah.
learn
Oh, 100. I think Waddle's got more pressure on him than Tyreek as far as like, because he doesn't really take any of the heat from the fans. Like Tyreek takes all of those hits from the fans. And I think from Waddle's perspective, like, yeah, man, you also need to show like that you're that guy and that you're the heir apparent. Even whenever you got to show that if you want to move up from Tyreek Hill, that you have still a stud in Jalen Waddle. And Dolphin fans, I remember McAfee came out and he was like, I think it was like he was talking about Jonathan Taylor. He goes, "Oh, we should get Jalen Waddle for him," and he's like, "Yeah, he's a number 2." And everybody, the Dolphins fan, went crazy. They're like, "He's basically a number 1." Well, look,
No,
McAfee looks dead ass right now. Like he does not look like a number 1 receiver by any means, and so he's got a lot of proving to do from that standpoint. But from the Ramsey thing,
yes,
I'm very confused because it's the biggest need on the team, and I got it. I'm under the impression that this is something McDaniel couldn't get over. That this is something to do with, he is just done with Jalen Ramsey, which I just find crazy because I think with him and Tyreek Hill, I think Mike McDaniel does the massaging of the ego and does it because like he knows like that's how you keep him engaged and all that. But with Jalen Ramsey, I genuinely think like he felt a connection there. Like he's like, oh, we're gonna bring this guy in, and he brought him in, and he got hurt like his first few practices in, and he was next to McDaniel every practice. He was working his way back. He'd sing him to high praise about how hard he was working on the rehab. Makes his way back, makes an impact. But man, something about Mike McDaniel must have rubbed Jalen Ramsey the wrong way. That he didn't respect him anymore, and that Mike McDaniel couldn't take that disrespect, and it was just an untenable situation. And I think that this is the fascinating thing about Mike McDaniel is just like the guy's obviously very creative.
Yes.
Okay, everybody acknowledges it. They all say like because of the Dolphins, like everybody's kind of changed the way they're running their offenses and the motions and the deception, all that. But can the guy run a team? Can he keep all of his ducks in a row? I think you probably saw this with Sirianni. There were a lot of these questions like, can the guy run an organization, right? And eventually he had to give up some control for the betterment of the organization.
Or all the control.
Or all of it. And so I think for Mike McDaniel, it's a question of like, he came here and he wanted his opportunity to call plays. Cool. You did it. But you obviously now have a quarterback who you've had forever and you've trusted. You have an offensive coordinator, Frank Smith, who you trust. Is there any benefit to him to giving that up to have more of just a pulse of being the boss? I don't know. But I will say I've noticed in his energy, like on these press conferences, I'm curious to see what he does tomorrow or Wednesday, whenever he first speaks, which I imagine will be on Wednesday. I'm curious to see what that is like, because I've been noticing he's like cursing a lot more this offseason in press conferences, and he's being a lot more biting than his, like, he'll still throw in the 3-minute ramble, don't get me wrong, but
cut up as we like to do sometimes.
Oh yeah, it's a real pleasure. But I don't know. I think he knows there's a lot of pressure on him. I think that there should be a lot of pressure on him because this is the identity of the team. It's a team that had some fun moments, but it's flawed.
Yeah.
And it needs to be, can he fix the flaws? And I think Jalen Ramsey was probably in a spot where he probably said some things that Mike McDaniel just, I don't know, couldn't live with.
Definitely. All right. Since McDaniel and Guerrero on the hot seat, who would you want next as GM and head coach? We like to have it here first anyways. We like to be predictors here. If you had to choose somebody.
Man, I haven't even really thought about it, to be honest with you. It'll probably be Belichick off of North Carolina, if I had to guess. Belichick, North Carolina, finally in the with Stephen Ross. His new squeeze will be like, I don't know, head of PR or something like that. and Lombardi will be the GM. They'll all just they'll probably beat the Hurricanes this year, and then they'll be like, you know what?
Well,
He
they
should
don't
run
play
the
this
Dolphins.
year anyways.
They'll meet in the playoffs. They'll meet in the
Let's
playoffs.
hope not. Let's hope not.
No, I don't know. I think I'm not good at knowing who the GM candidates are or any of that stuff. I just know that honestly, Trevor, my prediction is I don't think Chris Grier gets fired. I don't.
Okay.
I don't think Chris Grier gets fired. I think that they will look for a new head coach. I don't know who that will be, but I still think that Chris Grier is going to survive this. Whatever it is, I think that McDaniel's going to be left holding the bag, and that Chris Grier will still be here.
What does Chris Grier have on Stephen Ross? If you don't mind me asking,
I don't know.
Has anyone tried to do like a Pablo Torres? Let's figure this out, or whatever his pot is. Like, how does Chris Grier still?
I don't know. I think it's a great topic for Pablo Torre. Please find out what does he have on Steve. But no, I don't know. But I think my heart of hearts, when you've survived that long with an organization that's been this bad,
yeah,
there's just something. Like, I remember I was reading Armando Salguero when the Ramsey thing came out. Mm-hmm. Because Armando first reported, and Armando's been, for those who don't know, Armando Salguero has been covering the Dolphins forever.
Great guy.
Right? And he used to be columnist for the Miami Herald, but then he went to Outkick. So he didn't cover the Dolphins as much, but obviously, when he can dial it up, he can dial it up. And so he had this report on, like, just a little blurb about Jalen Ramsey, right? And he was like, oh, Jalen Ramsey's upset because the team asked him to take a pay cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not 3 hours later does he have another piece that's completely retracts what he said. And he goes, never mind, not that. And so I'm like reading it, and he basically was saying, like, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with Jalen Ramsey and Mike McDaniel's relationship. But the strange thing, I read it in this, I was like, and then, like, I can't remember the exact line, but this will serve its purpose. But it was like, Jalen Ramsey, does have great respect for Chris Grier and has no issue. And I'm like, hold on. When in the history of man have you ever read a story about a star player having respect for a general manager? I don't think I ever have. And it stood out like a sore thumb.
That's ass backwards.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense. I was just like, wait a minute, what? Like, I don't. Okay, report the dirt that he's got beef with McDaniel, but what do you mean he's like just randomly? Oh yeah, but he loves the GM, huh? How often is he interacting with the GM? So that's
like, is it like open therapist hours that, like, Jalen Ramsey goes into Chris Grier's office? Would you say?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it just felt to me like that was already like, and then Chris Grier said something at one of his press conferences where he was like, I probably defer to the coach too much. And I'm like, this dude's a master survivor, dude. He's a master survivor. And I just feel like he knows that if this thing goes awry, he's got to find a way to put it all on McDaniel, and that he'll be sitting here making the next hire. That's what I truly feel in my heart of hearts, that, like, McDaniel will probably be, odds are McDaniel will be let go this year if they don't make the playoffs. And even if they don't win in the playoffs, if they get to the playoffs and just again get boat raced, I just kind of think that's curtains for him. But
I wouldn't be surprised if he stays another year. I'll say that.
McDaniel or Chris Grier?
Either one.
If they make the playoffs.
If they got to make,
like, for sure they got to make the playoffs. If they don't make the playoffs, fired.
If they make the playoffs and they lose by a field goal, like that Buffalo game, I had to produce the last Dolphin game on QAM. He's here for another year. If it's a blowout fashion like Kansas City where fans almost died, then he's fired.
Right. If it's like you didn't really belong in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I agree with that. If they got to make the playoffs and not be embarrassed.
Yeah.
But I think to truly save his job, he needs to win a playoff game.
I'll say that.
He needs to do something that hasn't been done in 25 years.
The same weekend that the Eagles beat the Buccaneers on New Year's Eve 2000. The Eagles won a playoff game and beat the Bucs for the first time since the 80s. The same weekend, the Dolphins beat the Peyton Manning and have not won a playoff game since that anyways.
It's insane.
It's one of the crazy thing is the one Philly blog you should read is Crossing Broad. I do some stuff with them. Just look at the records since Jeff Lurie has bought the Eagles since 1994. It's impressive. I'll say that for sure. He put it a hole in his whole media index, by the way.
Hey, look, it's an important thing, especially especially guys who can get those right guys in there to trust, to run their organization. It's a big deal, dude. And the thing is, in town, like, they can look and see what the Panthers have done. They can go and, I know the Heat are no great shakes right now, but the Heat still have been the most successful franchise in that run of the Dolphins, 25 years of doing nothing. The Heat have done a ton.
Yeah.
And they have that structure. And, the Dolphins have been so rudderless through that. And they've done every type of move. They've had Parcells. They've had the big names. They've done a lot of first timers and gurus and all that type of stuff.
And he had Smoking Jay too, which was probably my favorite era of
yeah. For $10 million off the couch.
As a Jay Cutler defender, I will say this. He got that $10 million with no taxes. That's how he got it. Let's talk about the Bills. 11.5. Did you think Josh Allen deserved the MVP, or do you think that was Lamar Jackson's to win back-to-back, you think?
I guess I just looked at it like I didn't think Lamar Jackson was going to win it anyway, so I get it. Like, it was just his time. Kind of reminds me of Embiid winning it the year that he did with the Sixers. Like, you knew that was the direction they were going to go. So I didn't get too crazy about it. But look, he's a moose. He's a moose. He's been playing lights out for them. He was definitely MVP worthy, even if maybe he got a little bit too much of the favorable coverage on it. But I mean, man, he's an absolute monster. He's lost the Dolphins twice, once by a couple of seconds and once by drop. This guy, I mean, this is a type of ownership that the Dolphins have, I don't think, ever seen of just one player just completely throttling them his entire existence.
Do you respect Josh Allen? Do the Miami fans respect him, or they just hate his guts like Brady back in the day? Would you say?
I think
I respect the hell out of Josh Allen. That's why.
Yeah, I think there was a point where they didn't, and I think that a couple of years ago when Ken Dorsey has the meltdown, and and it's like, all right, you think you're right on the footing, and then like when the Dolphin fan was feeling froggy, and then it came back the next year, and it was he was still putting the Dolphins in a baby Bjorn, and just being their daddy like he has been. I think that any swagger that a Dolphin fan has at him is fake, and any hate is really just fear. That's all that it is, because you really cannot feel confident walking on a football field with this guy and that you're going to come out on top. It's just not logical. And it's also not all just him. It's just like they've hurt Tua Tagovailoa, that defense, I think 3 times. So it's just like it's so the epitome of like where it's like the dichotomy of where the two teams are. It's like you have this Bills team. They're like, we have Stephon. Yes, they kind of gave him the safety blanket of Stephon Diggs for a couple of years to get his footing. And now he's at the mode where they're cheaping out on the receivers and he's still winning. And then you have
Amari Cooper or not,
Yeah, and then you have Tua, who it's like can't stay healthy, can't run, always gets hurt against them, needs the best receivers. And yeah, it may not all just be on the quarterbacks, but that's your foundation. And the Dolphins, their foundation has always felt rickety, and the Bills is always rock solid. And even in the year, like when the Dolphins had that Monday night meltdown, like, dude, the division was theirs. The Bills were like, they were not in a position to do that, and
they were dead.
They were dead. And so I think that really did it in for the fan. They were like, ugh, like if you can't, it just went to like, if you can't win that, then like what confidence can you really talk with against this team? It would be you would sound like a complete moron. So I think respect has been literally beat into them by him every single time that he faces them.
What do you think the Josh Allen Tua Tagovailoa game ranks in like the quarterback matchup games? Would you say?
Which game?
like the matchups, like any time they play. What does it rank up just locally or just nationally? Would you say it's like the old Phillip Rivers, Peyton Manning, or Rivers Brady game? Would you say?
I don't even think he's in that weight class right now. Like, I don't
Okay.
think Tua's there yet. I think that maybe he was there, but I think that Tua is almost like it's, to put a fight reference, like he's almost the guy who's been knocked out and has to work his way back up, facing some decent fighters before he gets a title shot again. Like, I don't think he's there. I think, like, if you were going to talk about the interesting Tua matchups, it's got to be more like, can he beat Herbert again? Can he beat Boudreaux? Can he beat Jaden Daniels? Can he beat these tier of guys? I think to the Texans game last year, right? Like, they were not having a great year, and they were like the worst good team in the AFC. And the Dolphins got absolutely throttled by them, and he got hurt in that game too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, I will make the note. Yes, they played with was the left side of the line that was like a dude they literally grabbed off the street who hadn't played tackle in a while, and Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah,
but that's not my fault. Like, they've had Liam Eichenberg on this roster voluntarily for 5 years, so I don't know what to tell you. If you don't think that you don't know how that's going to end, that's on you.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that really deserves the headlines. I think that Allen is in that class of, like, Burrow and Jackson, and your boy who's not getting nearly enough respect, by the way.
I call him the seventh best quarterback because I like to make sure he's not in that top 5 because
he should be. It's so stupid. It's like, if everybody's sitting here and they have. I've never understood this thing that we do in sports with quarterbacks where it's like, we have the results. Mm-hmm. We all saw it. And people refuse to acknowledge it. Like, people even did this with Brady for a while with Manning. And it's like, okay, I will acknowledge, like, if I'm treating this like the Brady hate back in the day. It's like, fine. Yeah, it's like, if I had to build a quarterback in a lab, would they look more like Peyton Manning than Brady? Sure.
Yeah.
But how many times does he have to kick his ass before you're just like, you know what, he's better? That's just it. Like, I don't understand this. And people are like, yeah, well, anybody could do it with that system. I'm like, they're trying to ban his play. What do you mean? Like, his play literally has hearings. Like we're going to war. And should we have the tush? And everybody's sitting here being like, I think Justin Herbert. Like, we're still doing Justin Herbert? Still?
Justin Abear, we say in this podcast.
But we're still doing that. I guess I understand why you're doing that now, but I can understand the disrespect. But, like, I because the Herbert Tua thing was a thing, but, like, all right, Tua hasn't done anything. This guy's been to 2 Super Bowls, won one, probably should have 2 if he didn't fumble. Like,
or through the interception,
Like, I don't understand. Like, what more does he need? What this? And also, like, all right, so Josh Allen is like, he does the running thing too. I just don't understand it. It's just weird to me. But it was weird. Like, people were doing that when I've told you this, like, when I was at when they had a joint practice, like, man, the Philly media was killing him. They were drooling over Tua. And this guy's sitting here and he's just like, just sit here with the Super Bowl ring.
There is takes on my phone of being back in the day say I would trade Jalen Hurts for Kyler Murray. I still have him on the Twitter. I still can't find him on my Twitter, by the way.
Yeah.
I've said that a few times, by the way. I've talked myself into it again. Anyways, my old co-host, who is a Cardinals fan, he's like, we'll take him. I was like, fine. That's why. We might as well get some South Florida stuff. All right, this Panther team. Where on, like, if I'll say this, us nationally, I'm probably the only hockey guy at QAM. It's truly the only hockey guy. Can we say that at least?
I will acknowledge your hockey credentials for sure.
Yes, which everyone ignores anyways. Where do you rank this title? Is this like, if this was like the NBA, where would this Panther team be if you gave it the coverage like the old Heat, like the Heatles media?
Where does it rank as far this one? I think the thing that's interesting about this year as opposed to last year is, I just thought that they were so head and shoulders, like they just felt so inevitable. And, I guess there was a little scare there against Toronto, but I think the thing that was interesting is like I think afterwards everybody's just like I don't really see a weakness on them,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that's I think I'm happy that after it was done that they were able to keep especially Ekblad because I as much as it was cool to have Marchand here, I was like if I had to keep one or the other, like I would have taken Marchand and been like, hey, thank you for your service. This was
Yeah.
unbelievable, but I can't lose Ekblad, even if he is a juicer.
You understand why I'm like mad at Ekblad right now?
Why?
And if NHLPA guy, it's like you have to just go to market and just get the best offer. And if you get it, like see if you can match it. Because I'm all about players getting their money
Yeah,
after like the flat cap of like because of COVID and everything. I'm very like
I got you.
before the lockout. There's like Paul Correa and Timo Solani took less than like $7 million, and they played for the Avs for like $4 million with Timo and Paul Correa was playing for $1 million.
It has to make everybody crazy. It really does. Like even if you looked at like what Bouchard got, like I'm just like
that dude's overrated. I will tell you.
I'm like,
The most
I hate his face. I hate his
overrated defenseman I've ever
I
seen.
can't stand his face. Like if I really wish somebody would just come with hot wax and rip his beard off. I really do. He irritates me. But I'm looking at the money that they have to spend. And I know everybody's like talking about the tax thing, that's such a chic thing. But anyway, we're getting off point. My point is, where do I rank it? I still think the first one is like that was crazy. Like that was so to finally get over the hump after the loss the year before, and that was a crazy run. It's not at last year's because it kind of felt the in a weird way, even it was just they got into this Stanley Cup final and they just buried Edmonton along like that just swing game of going back on one day's rest and just throttling them. I was like, Jesus, they really just took it to them. So it wasn't quite as much for me as last year's, but it was still awesome.
Last year's run was more fun because you went through 2 original 6 teams.
Yeah, and like really like some crazy good goalie matchups too with Bob versus Shesterkin.
Yeah.
But it was. I mean, look. I don't know who's stopping them, and I think to go back to what like the only thing that stops them, it feels like right now is if Bob falls off a cliff, like like that, and he is at an age where like I suppose that could happen. Now was I reading like Russian articles about him where it was like, yeah, he's already back in St. Pete swimming at 5 a.m. I'm like, yeah, that's good because he's an insane person, but he's still gonna be 38. Like he's still got to be like sitting here and wondering like, all right, when does this last? And then what do they pay him? Like, what is Bob? I aged him too much, by the way. He's 36, but still, he's gonna be 37 before the season.
Yeah.
But he's like, what does he get paid? Because this is the last year of his deal. And the deal that was an albatross 3 years ago, like, does Bob take a discount? Does somebody come in and like hammer over it? Because I can't picture him ever wanting to leave Florida either. He loves it here. Oh. But
he played in one good hockey market of Philadelphia. And he got traded because one thing you should go through is like why they had to trade him, because the owner Ed Snyder was like, how like Jerry Jones is senile, like now Ed Snyder was literally like that. It's like, I need a goalie that can at least not be changing goalie every first period in the 20. Like that's what happened to him. It was like Bobrovsky, Bouchard, Bobrovsky, or like they would just scratch him like for 2 years, and they bought Brizgalov and another Russian who's a nutty anyway. So.
He's I mean, it's so crazy to see how good he's been, because like even going back to the first run, it's like, what if Marchand scores on him? Like, where is this all at? And now it's just like, yeah, he's going up in the rafters. He's going to be next to Luongo. It's going to be super cool. But I am fast. Like that to me is the only, because everybody's signed up now.
Yeah.
I guess the only I mean, maybe once they got to figure out the Kachuk thing, they'll probably have to get rid of Rodriguez or something like that. But, the cap will go up a little bit more next year. And I guess the question is just like, is Sergei Bobrovsky just done, or does he want to keep doing it? Because I would figure if I could get another, I don't know, what is it? 20? What would you think? You get 8 a year the next time he's up for it, or is that too much? Like I don't know what he makes.
It depends because I know I haven't seen the goalie hasn't been paid in a while. That's the thing that I remember that went to open market because everyone resigned. It was like the big high contract is like you get 12 a year. And like
Yeah.
you get the 12 by 8, but they're about to change that.
Well, the thing with him is you're not going to have to pay him for 8 years, right? It's not going to be that. It's going to be like a 3. I would imagine if Bob wanted to come out and he's done it, okay, you're going to get him 38, 39, 40.
Yeah.
So
and
like,
and the thing is, he's not playing the Olympics this year too. Also,
so like, what is like? Could somebody come in like and just be like, we're gonna give Bob an offer he can't? Because I was wondering with this year, you mentioned the Ekblad thing and nobody really got to market. I was like, no one's gonna try and just nuke the Panthers like that. That's almost like it's almost worth it just to see can I take a chunk out of them?
Yeah, like he would on like 12 by 8, no problem.
Yeah, so that's what I'm wondering is like, does somebody be like, hey, it's gonna have to be a crazy offer because I feel like Bob's gonna get like, he'll get the sweetheart, deal from the Panthers, whatever. And I think like everybody else, he's gonna have to be swayed to leave because he loves it down here and his family's down here, and but that's, I mean, until other than that, I don't know what else does it have to be a catastrophic injury? It'd have to be something, and even then they're super deep,
Yeah. Do you think they're going to be the hottest tickets this coming year again? You think? Because I was able to sell my Cup final ticket for Game 6 for $2,100 each. By the way,
they're definitely, dude. I definitely feel a buzz about them that is palpable. It's definitely like people really really care about this and are interested. People were interested in free agency. People were following. Like even the year before when we lost Montour and people didn't really. They were kind of in like, oh, what's going to happen? And this year, people were like, oh man, like, are they going to keep these guys? Is that going to be a thing? And they were really fired up when that all happened. And so, I'm definitely sensing a move there where like people are genuinely fired up about this team.
Do you think Pat Riley's very mad right now that during his tenure? Since he's been down here since 95, 96. Do you think he's pissed that the Panthers have taken over the town?
I think
be honest.
I think inevitably there's always jealousy amongst these teams a little bit, especially when you were the staple for it. I think that anybody if Pat Riley's probably like, Bill Zito who? Like, I'm Pat Riley. I think people. The thing that's crazy about Pat Riley is like, Pat Riley's so great that the Heat has probably become maybe the thing he's proudest of, but like this guy had a Hall of Fame resume before he got to the Heat.
Yeah.
And like this is going to be the thing that, this is the thing that made Paul Maurice like a great coach. People weren't fired up to have him here when he got here. Bill Zito, same thing. It's like, all right, so I'll tell you one thing, he better give him a discount on that trademark if they three-peat. That's what he should do.
All right. How excited are you for USA Hockey now since Tkachuk's pretty much the face of it? Since I called Austin Matthews a milk carton during the Four Nations and people got really mad about it in Canada, I found out.
I'm super excited about it, but I want him to just, if he's actually hurt, I would like him to not go out there because it doesn't feel like he's still even right. Like he's like, yeah, maybe I need surgery. He was talking about rehab at his wedding. I was like, oh, all right, this is going to be a thing, huh? Like he's not gonna, like, are we gonna let this thing rest? Is he gonna like just, are we gonna, bring, because I know they changed like the LTIR, right?
Yeah, they changed the LTIR. Not for this year, the following year, by the way. So we can do one more year of LTIR.
One more stash job.
Should we? I've kind of talked myself into, since if Tkachuk does play, should we just fly someone out to cover Tkachuk out at the Olympics anyways in Italy?
Oh yeah, I think that's fun. I think so. I think it's cool. I love all the internationals, the international side of this thing. I think it's so awesome. I think it's awesome that you got these 4 maniacs from Finland who everybody just adores. Nico Mikkola was like, I loved him this year. Like the fact that he got an even bigger role and he's just like just a giant behemoth, scary person. I refer to him as the polar bear because he looks like the only way to tame him is just throw a fish at him. Like everybody like, because otherwise he's just mauling somebody, he's cross-checking them and rubbing their face into the ice. And then he like just all of a sudden started lighting it up and just scoring like one-timers. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like that was the crazy. Like you were getting into the middle of like those Leafs and hurricane season. You're like, who's scoring for them? Like this is crazy.
Yeah. I was doing all those games anyways, those late nights anyway. All right, we'll end this with Heat. What's your expectations? Has anyone talked about forcing Pat Riley to retire yet?
Oh, people are talking about it for sure. People are. It's never been. It's the most pressure and the most doubt I've ever felt facing him in his time, and I don't even think it's. I don't even think this is his worst time. I honestly think Pat Riley post LeBron leaving was probably at his worst. I don't think this is his worst. And
Not the 07-08 team. That was pretty bad.
Yeah, that was bad, but it's off a championship. Like he got so mad he like broke his hip, and Ron Rothstein had the coach for the team because he kicked the door. But I thought like Pat Riley, falling in love with Hassan Whiteside and Deion Waiters and James Johnson because he felt like they embodied just his mantra, and then they all duped him because they were flawed players.
Yeah.
That to me was Pat Riley at its worst. But I almost think this is kind of just one of those things where it's just in the middle. It's like you have two really good players in Tyler Hero or Bam Adebayo. Nobody's gonna, but are either of them capable of stepping up? Or is there any more meat on the bone? I think Bam can play better than he did last year. It was probably his worst offensive season. Yeah, especially the first half. The first half was terrible from him. But I don't, look, they did make a good trade, which I think is all people want is like, hey, can you guys feel like ahead of the curve? Like for so many years, the thing that made the Heat special was like they were always ahead of the curve. Like they were ahead of the salary cap. They were ahead of sign-in trades to get Jimmy. And then somewhere along the way, like with the Jimmy Butler thing, like they had to overpay for Kyle Lowry. They had to overpay for Terry Rozier. And I was just like, who are you guys? And then like when you wanted them to overpay for Donovan Mitchell, they wouldn't do it. When you wanted them to overpay for Damian Lillard, they wouldn't do it. And you're like, what is this? Like, so it just felt like his rhythm was off. So I don't think he needs to retire. Pat Riley's never going to get the call from retirement from me. Too much respect for him. I don't think that, I don't think this is something he can't work out, but I do think that they have to. And I've said this, and I went on a pretty big tirade on him after the Kevin Durant thing happened. And I was getting,
which I was there live for on the parade day anyways. News broke.
Yeah. Well, the next day I was not pleased on the radio show. And, I think we had the draft night 2 nights later, and I was getting like some looks like, oh, look, Ira Winderman called me the ranter. I was getting some.
You should have told Ira, what was your rant at, bud? You're a New Yorker.
Oh, I made fun. I said he's because then 2 weeks later he writes a trade Bam article, and I called him the detonator. I said you just want to blow it up. So I said tit for tat. But no, I was getting some like, look, so I have a lot of buddies in like the Heat, the business department and all that. They're like, have you calmed down? They're like, have you? I'm like, hey, look, man. And I said this to them. I'm like, don't, I just want something in a direction, something like and I know that they do too. And
don't be like the New York Knicks of the 2000s. That's why I don't like basketball.
Yeah. And so I just think that they're in a spot right now where I think this team can be better. I don't think the East is very good this year. So I think things could break their way this year, and they could do a little something. Do I think that they have a Eastern Finals team? Probably not. They still, but I am. It feels like they are. Mike Miller said this, who's a power agent now. He used to play for the Heat. He does a host show with UD, who's obviously in the front office, and he was like teasing, "Oh, Pat Riley's not done." Shaq came out strangely and was like, "Yeah, Pat Riley's not done." So I'm like, I am a little bit like, is there something else? Some other shoe to drop. They don't want it out there. And will it matter? Like, is it whether it be a Ja Morant or whether that be, if they really do think Giannis is going to ask out at some point, some way, somehow, or whatever. But I'll never count out Pat Riley. Pat Riley's been in worse spots with this franchise. And, I think that what they need is to not be for the talent that they do have, they can't be a 37-win team. Like, that's ridiculous. If you're going to start heading towards that again, you might as well just trade everybody.
For sure. All right. Since the Lakers got sold $10 billion, when do you think the new Lakers ownership is going to kick LeBron out? And where do you want him to
It feels that way.
I kind of want it to happen. I really do. I want it for my content for the show.
Yeah.
And also just for national radio and see LA just explode.
Well, one thing I know is LeBron can make a mountain out of a molehill. He always has. Like, I remember the big thing that was viral this year was the cookies. Like, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
That
I had to ask you a few times, like, is this real?
D-Wade was like, yeah, it was, and so like that became a thing. And I was like, who cares? Like, this is like the Robert Kraft thing. I'm like, who cares about this? Because one of the things that was like back in the day that really upset LeBron that pissed him off was the fact that they amnestied Mike Miller. They had Mike Miller for one more year, and they had this thing which was called the amnesty clause, which is basically you can wipe him off your cap.
And it still has that too.
Yeah, so they had this for a time, and Mike Miller, and you had to use it at a certain point or it didn't count.
Yeah,
Mike Miller is a finals legend, right? But those two plays, one shoe three and the 7 threes in game 5, may have legitimately been like his only Heat moments, because for the most part he was a walking corpse with the Heat. Like, he had back issues, couldn't play, couldn't stay healthy. The deal never really worked out.
Yeah.
So the fourth year comes along in the Big Three, they amnesty him, and wouldn't you know it, who do you think plays 81 games that year for the Grizzlies? Mike Miller. And this is also the year where Dwayne Wade was his most banged up. And so LeBron's just looking at this and being like, why did we get rid of Mike Miller? If we had him here, like, why? And I think they brought in Michael Beasley that year, which was the original guy they traded to bring in Mike Miller. Didn't really work out. So, and that just, people, like, maybe LeBron was going to leave anyway, but people always were like, yeah, that was one of those things where, people started to notice that he was like, oh, you guys are cheaping out, like, all of a sudden.
I'm still mad at you guys. I'm still mad at because I was in Cleveland, like, I was in college out there, and they all welcomed them back. It's like, you're a bunch of fucking frauds, Cleveland.
Oh yeah. Well, I think, and that was the always thing. I think the thing that the Heat were so blindsided by it because they're like, you're gonna go back there, like, that organization that you're gonna, all right. I mean, like, I just don't think
that clown show, I called it.
Yeah, the Heat just didn't have it in their minds, that they could actually happen. But hey, LeBron ultimately ended up winning. So I think the Lakers thing is definitely interesting because you do sell for $10 billion, you don't extend him, and this is coming a year where they did everything for him. They drafted his son, they made his podcast host the head coach. They do everything.
You were at that presser. That was an all-time story you gave us, by the way.
About the Art Basel thing?
No, how he's late because of Art Basel traffic, which is still
it was crazy. I was like, where's
still the funniest story of all time.
Where is he? What a professional. You get stuck by Art Basel, acting like a player.
Didn't lose by 50.
Oh my God, they did. They got killed that game.
I was at that game anyways, and I saw Hollywood. I will tell you this: like, well, I could see LeBron retire his last game in Miami. Who would have thought?
So, if that's true that he didn't know about the sale and Luka did, and he also didn't get offered an extension, or they didn't even like, yeah, I definitely can see LeBron being like, I'm gonna opt in and I'm gonna make things uncomfortable. Now, will it ultimately mean him getting traded? I don't know, because there's just not a lot of teams that have the wherewithal to trade for $52 million. The Heat are one of them. Unfortunately, now one of their contracts is Terry Rozier, who, I don't know what the hell is going to happen with that.
Do you think he's going to get banned?
I don't think so. I just don't think they can prove it unless there's somebody who can really tie him to it that we don't know about. But it seems to me like he's the subject of the gambling, but it doesn't seem like he's the source of the game. That's what it seems like. So I'm going to lean no.
Okay. That was the other question I have.
Yeah, I'm going to lean no. But yeah, I definitely can see LeBron being like, hey, but I just don't. I think it's like ultimately, I'm sure they'll be like, you know what, let's play out this year, because he's done that. He played his last year in Cleveland, kind of disgruntled. He played his last year in Miami, kind of disgruntled. He played his first last year in Cleveland, kind of disgruntled, and then he would move on. So I think he'll pick a place for a final last dance. Will that be Miami? Maybe. I mean, if Cleveland doesn't want him, I mean, if him and Dan Gilbert haven't mended fences, will it be the Knicks? Like that's always kind of been like the flirtation, maybe.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like it's going to end with the Lakers.
Since the Lakers got sold, how much do you think the Heat will go if the Arisons ever sold?
It feels like I feel like 6 is the right range. 5-6 billion. That seems like that seems about the range to. Now I don't think you own the stadium.
That's
the
what
arena.
Like, yeah.
I don't think you own the arena. I think you get like control of it. Like you get to operate it, but I don't believe they own the land.
Okay.
So I do think that plays into value, but I gotta think that the Heat. I gotta think like 4 is the floor for them. I would think.
I said 9.
But I don't think they're ever gonna. I honestly, dude, Nick Harrison's young. I don't think they're ever gonna.
I know. I just want to ask. I just gotta ask because the Celtics got sold, the Lakers have been sold, the Mavs got sold. I gotta ask this: are the Heat next? Even though they don't have a TV deal, anyways. That's the other big thing.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. They'll figure. I mean, all that TV stuff's gonna be figured out at some point. But, yeah, I would say like 4. But I don't. It would have to be something like 6, 7 for me to think like, oh, they can't turn it down.
That's what I'm trying to figure out, like with everything. And plus, do you want Seattle back or Vegas next for NBA expansion?
Vegas is an awesome town for sports.
Yes. I just say Seattle because I had a lot of Seattle fans. So found my Twitter because I was rooting against OKC, and a clip I went viral was like how I never rooted for OKC ever. So
we were there for Golden Knights Stars, I want to say.
Okay.
And I didn't know that the building, like when you walk around Vegas and when they score, the entire building sounds off on the outside like a goal horn.
Yeah.
Like we're under attack. It was terrible. I was like in my hotel because I was literally right outside the arena. And Leroy and I went to the Golden Knights bar, and then we were like, all right, we'll call tonight. It was our first night.
Yeah.
And then it was just going. I was like, what the hell? And it just I could look out and see on the neon screen, goal. I was like, whoa. Yeah, and we saw like the first thing. I was like, they're crazy for these nights here, man.
Yeah.
So that's that. Yeah, baseball, it all needs to be in Vegas.
For sure. All right, Tobin, I kept you way too long. I may have to charge you for a talent fee, I feel.
Nah, you got me, buddy. Don't worry about
it. Thank you for coming on. Appreciate it always. What's going on with the show these days? Anything crazy going on?
Nah, getting into the football thing of things. So just got going on. People can go subscribe to Tobin and Leroy, where all your podcasts are available.
Definitely. Also check out his YouTube. I'll say that. Check out
my YouTube channel. Yeah, Tobin Show on YouTube at Tobin Show. For all of the stuff, we do some fight stuff, a lot of Heat stuff there as well. So if you're sickos and you like NBA talk in late July, then that's the place for you.
All right, Tobin. Thank you as always.
See you, man.